Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Start Sit Advice and Touchdown Predictor. This episode is all about the quarterbacks. Before we dig in, again, everybody, please, for 2 seconds of your time, a like and a subscribe. 2 clicks for me. That helps us get to a YouTube partnership where we can make these videos better. Some features will be unlocked. It's a good thing for everybody, especially us. But, little effort for you, big deal for us. We'd appreciate it. Moving just right into the quarterbacks for Thursday Night Football, the LA Chargers versus the Oakland Raiders. I am preparing a deep dive on this. I've already looked at the numbers. Basically, start Phillip Rivers. He's looking at 2 to 3 touchdown passes. I would sit Derek Carr this week. I think this is more of an Oakland ball control game. I think it's Josh Jacobs. You could say that every week, I think, for Oakland. But this week, I really think that Oakland's going to try to control the clock, try to get their defensive backs some rest. They'll do everything they can, but this Oakland defensive backfield is susceptible to the long pass. Phillip Rivers, all of the receivers there, including Eckler at running back, I think are starts. So there you go. Derek Carr, I think he gets 1, maybe 2 touchdown passes. So I just don't love him this week. I played him last week. I liked him. This week, I don't love the matchup. Moving on, we have Arizona versus Tampa Bay. Interesting game. I like Kyler Murray this week. I think he'll run around more, and I think he'll actually get 2 touchdown passes, maybe even 1 on the ground. So I like him quite a bit there. Jameis Winston is actually my top-rated quarterback in terms of analytics, if you can believe that. Do I believe that? No. I always pare it down a little bit because of the volatility with Jameis Winston. However, this is a great matchup. All of the receivers and the tight ends, they match up very well against Arizona. I do think that this will be a higher scoring game. Jameis Winston, very rare for me, but I say he's a start and an emphatic start, and I think he gets 3 touchdown passes at least this game. Atlanta versus New Orleans. Matt Ryan's still got that ankle injury. You don't really know. I think he's still questionable on the injury report there. If he plays and if he's healthy enough, I think he gets 2 touchdown passes, possibly a third. But I think New Orleans runs away from this game. Drew Brees is a definite start. Again, another 2 to 3 touchdown passes for him. My question is not so much will the New Orleans Saints score, it's how they will score. I think Kamara, assuming he plays, will also have a nice game. But Drew Brees will have more than enough touchdown passes to warrant a definite start for him. Next game on the list is Baltimore, coming off their great win on Sunday night. Not so great if you're a Patriots fan, but great win, if you're watching this or if you're a Baltimore fan, certainly. Lamar Jackson is a definite start. I think he gets you the rushing yards and the touchdowns. Cincinnati is his opponent. They're reeling. I know they're coming off a bye week, but Jackson is a weekly start at this point. I think he gets in the end zone 3 times safely, possibly 1 on the ground, so he could get you a nice bonus if you get more points for the rushing touchdowns. And I know that's typical of fantasy football scoring methodology. Cincinnati, Ryan Finley, sorry, he's a sit. Maybe gets 1 touchdown pass. Yeah, I know A.J. Green's coming back, but forgive me if I don't jump on the bandwagon there. He's a sit, and I think we can both move on with our day. Next game, we have Buffalo versus Cleveland. Interesting game. I think it'll be a little bit more of a defensive game, but I think Josh Allen will find some running lanes at quarterback. I think he's a definite start. I think he's a 2 touchdown, possibly 3 this game. Baker Mayfield, I don't love the matchup. They are going back home. Buffalo's defense is very good. It's a toss-up. My gut tells me he's going to outperform his projection, but I still don't start him. I think he's a little bit too risky. Now, I'm not down on him. I think Baker Mayfield is still a good pickup and play for the rest of the season, but against Buffalo's defense, I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it. So he's a sit, maybe 1 touchdown for Baker Mayfield this week. Carolina versus Green Bay. I don't like Kyle Allen. Green Bay got embarrassed, in my opinion, against the Chargers. Aaron Rodgers kind of called them out, I think probably correctly in doing so. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers this week for me is a fringe start. I think he probably gets 2 touchdown passes, but I think this Carolina defense is tougher than advertised. For some reason, they continue to be available in fantasy football, the defense and special teams, even though they score quite well. Aaron Rodgers, I think obviously if you have him, you're going to start him every week. Analytically speaking, I don't love him, so I'm not going to play him in daily fantasy football. I don't think he'll be worth the budget. But I think probably 2 touchdown passes for Aaron Rodgers, but this could easily swing towards Aaron Jones, as everybody knows. Next game on the list, Detroit versus Chicago. Matt Stafford is having a great season. Detroit has kind of fallen back away from the run down people's throats back to Matt Stafford, let's just pass and try to win the game. And I think it's what they have to do, frankly, to win games at this point. They're not doing what the offensive coordinator, the play caller, Darrell Bevell, wants to do, but Stafford is doing what he does best right now. He's throwing the ball quite well. I think he's a fringe start analytically just because the Chicago defense is so good, but he's a fringe start, so that should tell you something. Matt Stafford's playing very well. Chicago, would anybody really start Mitch Trubisky for anything important? If you're in a daily fantasy kind of, you're just rotating every single quarterback and receiver combination, I get it. But if you're playing Mitch Trubisky now, man, you are playing with fire. Kansas City versus Tennessee. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes or Matt Moore, I like the quarterback this week. No slight at Tennessee, who I think is improving in a very, very good team. But Kansas City just has great skill players. We've seen the last 2 weeks, Matt Moore can score at the quarterback position. I think he's a great daily fantasy play. I think he'd be a great fantasy football play. However, I do have a feeling that Patrick Mahomes will play. As of the time of this recording, he's questionable. But they were earmarking this game for him to come back. I think he can get back in there. And obviously, if Mahomes plays, you play him. If it's Matt Moore, I think he gets maybe 1 to 2 touchdowns. Actually, I take that back. He gets 2 touchdowns. If it's Patrick Mahomes, he gets 2 to 3. For Tennessee, I actually have Ryan Tannehill as a start as well. I know Kansas City's defense is playing a lot better lately, but I like Tannehill to play better, bounce back off that 2-interception game against Carolina last week, I should say, and I think he'll get decent yards. He's a fringe start. He's not my favorite start, but waiver wire play, he's one of my favorite waiver wire plays this week. New York Giants versus the New York Jets. Daniel Jones is a fringe start just because the Jets defense is reeling a little bit. I don't start Darnold right now. I'm sorry. I just don't. I need to see more from Darnold consistently. Daniel Jones, he's fumbling the ball too much, but he can get touchdowns. He's got Saquon Barkley in the screen game. I believe Sterling Shepard will be back. I called him Sterling Sharp the other week. Sterling Shepard will be back. Golden Tate, the Giants haven't been completely healthy yet. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like when everybody's actually back there and the full passing attack is back. But, I think Jones is a fringe start, but you can probably find better out there. Next game, Miami versus Indianapolis. I do not start Ryan Fitzpatrick this week. If Brissett is healthy enough to play, I like it analytically speaking, but also keep in mind, one, he's got a knee injury that could keep him out. And even if Hoyer is in there, it's an okay matchup, but also keep in mind T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell are out. This is probably going to be, I would assume, a dink and dunk game to the tight ends, maybe hitting Zach Pascal, scheming some stuff open for him. I find it tough to start anybody against Miami this week, especially a kind of a banged-up Jacoby Brissett, but my analytics do like them for what that's worth. LA Rams versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jared Goff is a fringe start. I have him on my team. I will be starting Jared Goff this week. I think he gets you 2 touchdown passes. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason Rudolph, I do not have him as a start this week. Maybe 1 touchdown pass. Don't love it. I think you can do better than Mason Rudolph this particular week. Minnesota versus Dallas. Kirk Cousins, I do not have, analytically speaking, as a start this week. I do like Kirk Cousins quite a bit. If you watch my waiver wire pickups, I like him long-term. I don't like the matchup this week for them. Dak Prescott, I think, is a start, and I think he gets you 2 touchdowns. By the way, Kirk Cousins, I think, only gets 1 touchdown pass this week. Monday Night Football, Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. Analytically speaking, Russell Wilson is not a start. I would absolutely start Russell Wilson. So I don't always agree with the analytics here. I say roll the dice if you have Russell Wilson. Start him. He's too slippery of a quarterback. He's too good. MVP candidate. He'll get his in this game. My analytics say 1 touchdown for him. I think you're probably looking at 2. But San Francisco, don't underestimate their defense. My analytics also say Jimmy Garoppolo is not a start. However, he's a little bit of a different quarterback now that Emmanuel Sanders has gotten there. I think he will outplay the projection. I think he could potentially be a start this week as well. Again, I think you could probably find safer bets, but although Tannehill, for example, was a fringe start for me, I think Garoppolo will outplay Ryan Tannehill this week against the Seattle Seahawks. Bold prediction, or maybe not so bold. But there you go. There's a full week of quarterback predictions for you, starts and sits, and, of course, the touchdown predictions. We will be doing running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, so please keep an eye out for that video. Also keep an eye out for our game plan deep dives if you're looking for more in-depth statistics. And you can always tweet at me. I'm at TFS_Sean, or you can send me an email, functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com, and I can get you the full list of free, basically, daily fantasy football and fantasy football analytics. Thanks, everyone. Catch you on another episode soon.